Well, guys, 2015 has been a very mixed year for films. There have been some films that are really good, and then some films that are just okay. And then there are those films that are really, really bad, and that is that list. Okay, hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be my worst movies of 2015 list. If you guys are looking for the best one, that's not happening yet. I still have a lot of movies to watch, and that's why I haven't made it yet. That is probably going to go up December 31st. I'm just going to tell you guys that. The latest it's going to go up is probably December 31st, just because I have a lot of films I'd like to watch before I make that list. That's only why. But the worst list, I feel like I've had this worst list aside for a while now, but as the year went on, there have been some really bad films this year, honestly. I mean, I can't remember a year that had more worse films. I mean, there were some really, really bad films this year. It was honestly kind of hard to make this worst list because there were just so many bad films, honestly. I gave a lot of Fs this year. I gave a lot of D minuses this year. I honestly can't get over how many I gave. But this is my top 10, and you guys may be thinking, oh, where's Fantastic Four? Why isn't that here? I don't hate that movie. I don't. I like the first 40 minutes. I love the first 40 minutes, but fucking hate the rest of it. This is my list of all the movies that just everything went wrong. That is how I best can describe these movies. Everything went wrong in these movies. Everything just sucked. There was nothing redeemable, and they're movies that were a chore to sit through, and I never want to hear about them again. Those are the movies that I'm about to talk about. And I do have some dishonorable mentions. I really do. I have some dishonorable mentions. And let's get into some of those dishonorable mentions. Starting off, because this was such a bad year for films, I do have some dishonorable mentions, like I said. Starting off with a movie that I really, really disliked, honestly. It's not in this list just because it's not like all the way bad, but Pixels. Pixels, what the hell happened with this movie? Honestly, I can't get over how bad this movie really was. It should have been a much better film than it really was, and it wasn't. I mean, it had the potential to be really great, but then you have an actor like Peter Dinklage who is basically just like trying to be cool the whole movie, and Josh Gad who's screaming every 5 seconds, and it really was very disappointing. I just wanted this to be a fun film, and it really wasn't that at all. It really was very disappointing. I really didn't like that. I'm gonna mention three films together for this honorable mentions: Serena, Cake, and I Smile Back. Reason all three of these films are bunched together is because I hate all of them for the same reasons. Cake was, they were all, one, they were all slow and boring. Two, they were extremely contrived. Three, I couldn't wait to stop watching them and not wanting to watch them for you guys. All three of these films I really did not like, but they weren't bad enough to make my worst list. They just weren't. And I was surprised. I really thought Serena was gonna make my worst list, but it didn't, and unfortunately, it didn't. The Loft was another horrible film. It really was. I mean, The Loft was such a cheesy film that was taking itself way too seriously and couldn't just have fun, and that really was a problem with that film. Taken 3, what was that? I mean, it was a completely unnecessary sequel, but as bad as all these films are, they're just not on my top 10 list, unfortunately. But now let's get to my top 10 worst list, and starting off with number 10, a film I don't even remember, but it's on my worst list simply because of how bad it was. Number 10 is the first film of this year, The Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death. Does anyone remember this movie? I don't. I don't remember this movie. I just remember that the entire movie felt like some soap opera. That's really what it felt like. It's supposedly a horror film, but the whole movie we're focusing on this like romance, and it really did feel like this soap opera that I couldn't wait to stop watching. It did have some okay visuals in there and a good performance from our lead, but it still was not a good movie by any means. It was really bad, and I really, really dislike The Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death. Really a bad film. The only reason it's on this list is mainly just because the only reason it's number 10, and so low is just because I didn't hate as much as these other films. That's the only thing I can give it, and it's the only film on this list that I did not give an F. All the other films on this list, I did give an F, while Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death, I did give a D minus. But number 9 is a film that, oh my god, I still can't believe this movie came out. I can't believe this movie came out. I can't believe there are people that actually like this movie. There are people that like this movie. I don't understand it, but there are people that like this movie, and I don't know why they do. but they do, and when I think of this movie, I just think of how horrible I felt watching it, and how much I just felt like I was hating myself and couldn't wait to stop watching it, laughing at the cheesy dialogue and the mess that was 50 Shades of Grey. Holy shit, this movie. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey is one of the most shallow stories I've ever seen in my life. You have these two characters. One is a sex addict, and one is some, like, little girl trapped in a woman's body that just won't get the fuck away from this guy, who clearly is just into BDSM, which you don't know if she's enjoying, you don't know if she's into, and it really, really sucked because Dakota Johnson, we've seen in other films, is a very good actress, and this film really was a horrible way to start her career. Honestly, there were so many bad films in this movie. The contract scene. Anyone remember the contract scene? I mean, it was so stupid. The way they set up this romance was terrible. Anyone remember? I mean, just the sex scenes in this movie were bad. Everything about it was terrible. Christian Grey had such laughable dialogue. I don't make love. I fuck hard. I mean, everyone remember that line? Everyone does. It's a terrible line. Horrible acting. I mean, from Jamie Dornan especially. Way too over the top of a performance. And Christian Grey as well. The problem with Christian Grey is that he doesn't have a soul. He doesn't seem to have one. He doesn't really seem to care much about her till the end of the film. There are points in the film where it seems like he just suddenly cares about her, and it doesn't work because the whole movie he was acting like this monster throughout, and it really didn't work, and you really couldn't tell, were they trying to tell a romance, were they trying to tell a horror story? It didn't work. It was just a complete mess. It was a movie that honestly should have never been made, and the movie was written on the book was written on an iPhone, okay? It was written on an iPhone. I can't say that enough. The book was written on an iPhone, started off as Twilight fan fiction. There was no reason for this movie to be made. There's no reason for that book to be made, which I heard is horribly written, and I talked to people in my school who said, oh, this movie was kind of good. I talk to them now, they say it's fucking horrible, okay? This is a movie where if you enjoyed it, you'll probably realize it's really bad after, and there's really nothing good about it, aside from Dakota Johnson being a promising actress. And that is why I hate 50 Shades of Grey so much, and that is why it is my number 9. And I'm surprised that there are movies worse than that, because I was very sure this was going to be very high on my list, but it wasn't. Number 8's another film I don't remember. A lot of these films are like that. I don't remember them because they're not memorable films. Number 8 is Mortdecai. Johnny Depp, why? I mean, you see that film right there, Black Mass. We see what potential he has. You do something like this, that is not the kind of movie that Johnny Depp should be doing. Mortdecai is stupid. It's something that seems like it's written for toddlers at points. It's rated R, but for the stupidest of reasons. I knew from the trailer this was going to be a terrible movie. It was way worse than I thought it was going to be. I absolutely hated every minute of Mortdecai. Nothing about it was funny. Nothing about it was interesting, and I don't remember a single thing about it. That just tells you it's a terrible film. When you don't remember something about a film, that's when you know it's not good, because nothing resonated with me. Nothing stuck with me, except that Johnny Depp is just terrible in this film, and the movie itself was just a pile of shit. I hated Mortdecai, and that is why it is my number 8. Number 7 is a film that I watched early, and this is a film that I really did know was going to suck. I did not anticipate to be as bad as it was. I remember how boring it was. I remember how much I was laughing at one of the characters, and how much I really wanted to not review this movie. I did have a lot of fun doing this rant, though. I will say that. That's the only thing I can give these films, that I had a lot of fun doing this rant. Seventh Son. Wow! Seventh Son. Damn, was that a bad movie. First of all, my dad got the Blu-ray to this movie because he thought it was going to be okay. He even said it sucked. It's a and we never agree on opinions. I mean, there are things I say, we never really do agree on opinions when it comes to movies. And this is one that we do. He even said it wasn't good. This movie is just awful. Seventh Son fails in every single way. It is extremely uninteresting, extremely boring, extremely contrived dialogue, like, you are the seventh son of the seventh son. You got Jeff Bridges, who I don't know what the hell he's doing in this movie. He's wearing like a thing on his head the entire movie. You got Ben Barnes that doesn't even have that doesn't even care about this movie at all, that he has an American accent throughout when no other character does. You have Julianne Moore, who's actually trying, but it's just her character is so badly written, and the dialogue she's saying is so stupid that I didn't even like her character. And then, the worst thing about this movie, guys, honestly, if you guys think about the worst thing about this movie, is that this is the movie we were introduced to Alicia Vikander. This is the movie, not Ex Machina. This was the movie I was introduced to Alicia Vikander. Can you see why this movie is bad? Seventh Son is just a terrible film. I am so upset that I had to suffer through it. It was a film that I could not wait to stop watching. And while I enjoy doing the rant, it's not enough for me to put it on. It's not enough for me to not put it on this worst list. I hate everything about Seventh Son, and I never want to talk about it again. That's the good thing about a lot of these movies. I don't have to talk about them ever again. Alright, number 6 is a movie that surprisingly caused a lot of controversy. I don't know why, but out of all the movies, this is the film that I get a lot of backlash for. It has a lot of views and a lot of dislikes, and I don't understand the backlash I get for this film because it was awful. I don't know why people enjoyed this. Madea's Tough Love. Why did you enjoy this movie? There's nothing to like about it. Just the concept in general, having a character like Madea, putting her in a children's show is just stupid. It doesn't work, and the stuff they're trying to do in this movie is just so stupid. The animation in this film is atrocious. It really looked terrible. Everything they did was really stupid. From the beginning, I mean, Madea was never meant to be a children's thing. Why they decided to do this, I don't know. I can only believe that Tyler Perry just simply ran out of ideas for this character, and that's why he did this, which was a very stupid decision. I have no idea why they decided to do it, but I really hate this film. I mean, there are just so many things that are so bad about this movie. It's an hour. It is an hour, and I felt like it was like 5 hours long. It was that bad to suffer through. I hated every minute of Madea's Tough Love. There was nothing good about this movie. Tyler Perry, look, he's a good actor. He really is. I've never liked this character, Madea, and it is not because I'm trying to be racist, okay? Every comment I get, you're being racist, da da da. It has nothing to do with Madea's race. It has nothing to do with her ethnicity. It has nothing to do with that she's black, and a lot of the jokes are stereotypical black. It has nothing to do with that. It's simply that I just don't find this character funny. I don't know why people love this character so much, because I've never really gotten into it. So, in general, I hated myself throughout this movie, cannot wait to stop watching this movie, and I still can't believe this movie was actually made. Madea's Tough Love is simply one of the worst films of the year. Do yourself a favor and just skip it entirely. It is horrible. Coming at number 4, coming at number 5, now guys, we are getting to the top 5. These are the worst of the worst. These are the films that I could not wait to stop watching. These are the films where I question why they were made, and these are the films that I hated myself the most throughout and made fun of, especially with number 5, which is probably one of the worst, most unnecessary sequels I have ever seen in my life. I don't know why they decided to make a sequel to this film. It never needed it, and it's just so bad. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Holy shit, this movie. I mean, there are so many things. The first 5 minutes, he gets a divorce from his wife, and his mom gets hit by a milk truck, and they never talk about it again. That just shows that no one gave a shit about this movie. This is a movie that they simply made for cash. They made it to get a buck, they made it to make a quick buck because they needed money. Again, Happy Madison Productions, really bad studio, don't work there, it's terrible. And it was just a horrible film all the way around. Kevin James, I've never found him that funny, I will definitely say that, so that's one of the reasons I don't love it, but I really did like the first movie. The first movie is a fun film. This entire movie, they're just making fat jokes. This entire movie nothing is funny. There aren't jokes in this movie. There are things that happen, there are things that are trying to be funny, but they're not jokes because there's really no punchline. There are just a lot of things, and they think the jokes in this film are punchline, and they're not. It's a stupid film. I hated every minute of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and I could not wait to stop watching it. It's a film that I'm so upset, and I pray to God there's not a third one. I really do. Despite there being kind of a fun ending to this film, I still hated every minute of it. I thought it was a very stupid film, and I don't ever want to hear about it again. Number 4 is a horrible film. Now, I expect this movie to be bad. I really expect it to be bad just from the premise, just from the fact it was coming out in the summer and nobody was talking about it, just the fact that it was coming out when nothing else was, and the fact that nobody was seeing it and I heard all these bad things about it. I did not expect the film to be this bad. Number 4, without a doubt, is Hot Pursuit. Oh my god, this movie. I hated every minute of Hot Pursuit. I mean, Reese Witherspoon is very good. Okay, she can be a very good actress. Here, her character was so just Her character actually was okay. I will say that. The first, like, few minutes of this movie, they were okay. Sofia Vergara, however, is a child in this movie. She is a child. She's not, a grown woman. She's acting like a little rich girl. She's acting like those little snotty rich girls. She's acting like Veruca Salt in this movie. That's what she's acting like. Simply. It's Veruca Salt. That's what it's all about. Literally, watch her character. She's acting like Veruca Salt. This movie is one of the dumbest twists I have ever seen in my life. If you guys want to know how bad the twist is, go watch this review, because I don't remember what it is. I just remember it was a horrible twist. I really hate it. Nothing about it was funny. The banter between these two is so bad. Sofia Vergara in general is not a very good actress. I've never liked her character. I simply think that she's famous because people think she's hot. That's why I think she's famous. I don't think she's funny. I don't think this character works. And in general, I hated every minute of Hot Pursuit. Without a doubt, one of the worst films of the year. However, it is not the worst comedy of this year. Without a doubt, the worst comedy this year is a movie that should have never been made. It should have just been shelved and not been made. Be kept on the shelf for someone to keep it. There are many things you can do with a film. You don't make a film when your person that wants to make it leaves the film and continue to do it anyway. Accidental Love. What the fuck was this movie? This movie sucked. I hated Accidental Love. Oh my god, I hated Accidental Love. I mean, just the fact that David O. Russell was going to direct this movie and then he left the project was enough of a reason for me to know that this was a horrible movie, because it wasn't going the way he wanted to. Everything about this movie is stupid. The premise of this movie is stupid. Her getting a nail lodged into her head and it's making her all batshit crazy is so stupid. And I felt so bad for Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie. Jake Gyllenhaal is a great actor, and this is not what he needs to be doing. He needs to be making films like Nightcrawler and Southpaw and things like that, and not this. Jessica Biel is so bad in this movie. I remember just everyone being terrible in this movie. Everything about it was so unfunny. And then the fact that they had to make this, that it was 2008, and the fact that they did that, the thing at the end of this film I thought was ridiculous that they did. The way they got the nail out of her head is one of the stupidest things I've seen. And the fact that a lot of this movie is her trying to basically, rally against the doctors and things like that. I thought it was so stupid. I hated it. I really thought it was dumb what she was doing. The bond she creates with Jake Gyllenhaal is really stupid. I don't know why she did this. Definitely, it was a very uninteresting story. There's a scene where Jake Gyllenhaal is with a bunch of Girl Scouts, and they're yelling at him, they're screaming at him, they're beating him with things. That's not funny. That is literally Jake Gyllenhaal just being like, I did this movie for money, I don't want to be here. This entire movie, Jake Gyllenhaal felt that way. It really sucked. I hated everything about Accidental Love. I can't believe how bad this movie was. The best thing about it is the fact that no one really had to see it. I don't really think anyone saw this movie. Thank God they didn't, because it really is a horrible film, and I don't ever want to hear about this movie again. Number 2, for a while this was number 1. Honestly, guys, I was convinced this was going to be number 1. I was convinced there wasn't going to be a film worse than this. But unfortunately there was, because this is number 2. But it's still one of the worst films I have ever seen in my life. Honestly, I hated everything about this movie, and you guys know what that movie is. It's The Boy Next Door. The Boy Next Door for a while. Just, this movie in general is so stupid. I mean, it is completely obvious that this guy is stalking her and that he's a creep. It is obvious. There's nothing they do to show, oh, maybe he's a good guy. There's nothing they do to show that. Jennifer Lopez, this is the thing that made her not be able to for me to take her seriously. That TV show on NBC she's doing, I can't take her seriously in that because of this movie. She's so stupid. She's such an idiot in this movie. The fact that she trusts him over her own son who constantly is getting beaten down by everyone in this movie, and, this guy in the film, who has become a better actor, definitely has shown that he can do better films. Ryan Guzman's character in this movie, The fact that he is just trying to manipulate her son like this, I mean, is so stupid. The fact that nobody feels there's something off about him until something happens is so ridiculous. I hated it. The fact that this movie even happens sound ridiculous from the start. I knew this movie was going to suck. I did not anticipate it to be as bad as it was, but it really is a horrible film. The Boy Next Door, if you've not seen it, just don't even watch it. Is it funny at times? Yes, it is a very funny film, and there are some lines that were really, really stupid. If you want to have fun with the movie, definitely check this out, but it really is stupid. I hate everything about The Boy Next Door, and yeah, so I really hate that film. So for a while, that was number one. But then October came. Actually, no, November came. November came, and I was convinced this movie was going to be terrible. I knew it was going to be terrible. Just from the title, I knew it was going to be terrible. However, most of these films are some of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. This movie might be, honestly, the worst film I have ever seen in my life. There aren't many films that are as bad as this movie. And I thought last year was bad with, like, Left Behind and The Identical. Nothing reached the pinnacle downfall that is the horrible film that I don't want anyone to check out. I literally said to you guys in this video, don't watch this movie. If you've not seen it, don't watch it. I know film is subjective, but I don't want anyone to watch this. And that movie, without a doubt, is #horror. #horror, I mean, just the title in general is by far the worst movie of the year. Just everything about this movie is awful. The acting is awful. The approach to it is awful. The fact that they tried to make this just seem like a fun movie and then turn into a horror movie is awful. The cinematography in this movie will give you a seizure. It will. If you have epilepsy, you're not going to watch this movie. This movie will give you a headache. This movie is unintentionally funny. This movie doesn't work as a horror film. It doesn't work as a comedy. It has 12-year-olds acting like teenagers. Just everything about this movie absolutely sucks. Not a single person in this movie can act. Not a single thing about it was good. I mean, yeah, you have people like Chloe Sevigny who can be a good actress, but not when she has a role like this where she's literally just like a heiress the whole film, and she's not giving a shit about anything but herself. She has this really dumb subplot in the movie I didn't give two shits about. Honestly, I didn't care at all about it. You have the most generic of characters. You guys know that Scream Queens, when it first came out, I hated it. This is why. Everything bad about Scream Queens is in this movie. The entire movie, you have them insulting people, and it's not funny insults. It's not clever. It's just insults. It's not like Mean Girls, which was clever. It's just simply giving every insult possible. There's literally a scene where this girl is insulting this person who's just a bit chubby, and she thinks she's like the fattest little girl ever. She's really not even that, fat, honestly. I don't think she's honestly that bad. But she's giving her every insult possible. Just saying every single possible insult you've ever heard about fat people. She says it to her, and it's so stupid. It's the thing that made me just really hate this film. I mean, there were other things that I really hate about this movie, but that scene in general really solidified how much I loved it. And of course, we have the god-awful performance. Probably one of the funniest performances of the year from Timothy Hutton, who this entire movie is just every line he does, "Cat, get in the car, what are you doing?" The entire film, he's just screaming the entire movie, and it's just so stupid. It is the only film where the second I started, I could not wait to stop watching it. I will tell you guys, the first, 20 minutes I didn't hate, but once we got to that slumber party and the movie actually started and it became ridiculous. Also, those visuals, what is that? Those visuals throughout the film. There are these really annoying visuals they have. You guys know what I'm talking about. They're so badly constructed. They look horrible in the film. They're annoying. They don't make any sense. The ending of this movie is so stupid. They're trying to go with this message that I don't believe at all, and it really seemed like bullshit to me. I don't know why they decided to go with this message. You have characters in this movie that seems like we're supposed to respect, and then suddenly are the most cold-hearted bitches that you could meet. Honestly, every girl in this movie is a bitch except for our main character, who is the plainest thing ever. Honestly, she's plain, she's boring, she's the definition of a horror lead that's just simply the final girl. That's simply what she is. She's just the final girl staying in this film, and even though this movie tried to do something different, even though it tried to be kind of different from other horror films and did make reference to horror films, it was still a horrible film. The fact that these girls are acting like teenagers teenagers. They're 12. They're drinking beer in this movie. They're swearing like teenagers. They're talking about having sex. These are not things that 12-year-old girls do. I don't know why they decided to put 12-year-old girls in this movie. I would not have done that. It was a very dumb decision that they did that. I don't know why they decided to do that, but they did. They should have put teenagers in this movie. Would not have made a difference if they did. The movie would have still probably sucked, but one of the reasons I hate it the most is because of the fact that there are a bunch of 12-year-olds in this movie acting like teenagers, acting like sluts, and it was really dumb the way that they did that. Just the entire movie, it's an insult. It really is. It's an insult. It's the exact way of how to not make a horror film. Is everything wrong that is filmed nowadays, and it is without a doubt the worst movie of 2015. There was nothing worse than Hashtag Horror. Don't even watch it, okay? If you guys haven't seen it, don't watch it. Unless you want to hate yourself and regret this movie and, just constantly think about why did I watch this movie? Why did I watch this movie? That's constantly what I thought about. The only reason I watched it was to put it on my worst list. Honestly, guys, that is the only reason I watched it. And if I had not have had a worst list, I definitely would not have watched this movie. Don't watch this movie for whatever reason. I don't care what you have to do. Just don't watch it. Stay away from it. It's one of the worst things you could ever watch. And I never, ever want to talk about this movie again. I will watch my rants because I think it's a pretty good rant that I did. And I did enjoy doing that rant. But I hated every minute of this film. I hate everything about it. It has lines that are so stupid and full of obvious dialogue that is so dumb. That is so contrived, that feels like these characters are making really stupid decisions. Literally, the characters make a decision to turn their phones off and put them in a box in this movie, put them in a safe, and they throw the key into the pool. Wow. So if a killer is going after you, you can't call 911. You can't call 911. You can't do anything about it. It's so stupid. You have the dumbest of characters in this film, and without a doubt, Hashtag Horror is the worst film. Maybe not just of this year. Honestly, probably one of the worst films of all time. One of the worst films I've ever seen, and I don't want anyone to ever have to suffer through this horrible, horrible mess that is Hashtag Horror. And that, guys, is my worst list of 2015. I have not yelled in a while this much. I have not gone rant this much, but this was fun. This was fun because we had some really bad films this year, and I'm glad that now I can just talk about good movies. I can talk about good movies. My best list will be coming up soon. Probably Wednesday is the latest that it will probably be coming up. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. Wednesday is the latest. But what are your worst films of 2015? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on my list overall? Is there any film that I left out? There were films that I skipped, like Pan, just because I wanted to. I didn't want to watch it. But many of the films on this list I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to have to suffer through most of the films on this list. But let me know what you guys saw of this list overall. What did you think of these movies I listed? Maybe you enjoy some of these films. If you enjoy some of them, fine. Honestly, film subjective. Except for the last one. If you enjoy Hashtag Horror, why? I don't understand how you enjoy Hashtag Horror. I don't get it. But that's basically this video. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you guys at my next one, which will be for another movie review, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.